Good morning. Happy Monday to you. Today is October 7th. This is Wake Up with KERA News. I'm Andrew Garcia. We've got another warm, sunny Monday on deck. Highs today will reach the low 90s. Today is the last day to register to vote in Texas, so make sure you're set for Election Day. To register, check your status, find polling places, and more, visit votetexas.gov. Let's get into today's news. Dallas will soon have a new interim police chief. The city tapped Assistant Chief Michael Igo to take over for outgoing Chief Eddie Garcia. KERA's Penelope Rivera reports it comes as Garcia transitions to a new role in Austin.
Igo will lead the Dallas Police Department starting October 18th. He served for 33 years and became one of Chief Garcia's top deputies in February. Igo's previous roles include leading field supervisors, sergeants, police officers, specialized units, and patrol divisions. He'll oversee more than 3,000 police officers and a $719 million budget. Garcia will start his new position as Assistant City Manager overseeing public safety in Austin next month. He joins former Dallas City Manager and current Austin City Manager T.C. Broadnax. For KERA News, I'm Penelope Rivera in Dallas.
The federal government has earmarked $360 million for a project to connect the Texas power grid with those in the Southeast. But KERA's Becca Moore reports it'll still have to overcome obstacles that have stalled it for years.
The U.S. Department of Energy grant aims to improve power transmission in Texas, where the grid nearly collapsed during a deadly 2021 winter storm. The direct current line would carry nuclear power from Mississippi to Texas when needed and allow Texas to send wind and solar east when it has extra. If and when the project is completed, the Texas power grid would remain free of federal regulation while providing insurance against blackouts. But the plan still faces some hurdles, like a complicated permit process as well as opposition from landowners and lawmakers in both Louisiana and Mississippi. That's held up the project for more than a decade. For KERA News, I'm Becca Moore.
Dallas has taken a new approach to dealing with homeless encampments over the last few years. This new approach focuses on permanent housing instead of primarily on crisis response. KERA's Justin Martin talked with Christopher Connolly and Ifat Yousafzai about this new effort that's tracking the progress at one tent city in East Dallas.
Let's start with what exactly Dallas is doing differently.
So there are really three big changes in the way the homeless response system in Dallas is dealing with encampments. First, this new approach brings nonprofits and local agencies out to the encampment, helping people where they're living. Second, it delivers permanent housing with no conditions like getting sober and no time limits. Third, it's a long-term, ongoing support from a caseworker who comes and helps them navigate challenges, sets goals, so they don't fall back into homelessness.
Yeah, and Chris here, there's also another big change, and that's money. During the pandemic, a ton of money came in from the feds for homelessness, which came just as this big system transformation, this rethink was happening. And then when that started showing positive results, the feds sent even more money to Dallas to bolster the effort.
So is it too early to say whether this new process is making a difference?
It seems like it really is making a difference. So just looking at the numbers, for years, Dallas homelessness just kept rising. In 2021, when this new approach started being implemented, that trend seems to have started to reverse. So since 2021, homelessness dropped by 19%. And that drop in Dallas was happening at the same time that homelessness in most of the rest of the country was going up.
And here's what really stands out, though. There's an even bigger drop in the unsheltered homelessness. Unsheltered is what they call people who are living outside in tents or sleeping on the streets or in their car. Those are the people considered the hardest to help.
What makes it so hard to help people who are unsheltered?
These folks are detached from society. They've been homeless the longest. They don't have the social networks to help them out. And then they're vulnerable to violence and theft, their health suffers, and they're not sleeping enough.
And, you know, when they're out on the streets for a long time and dealing with that, you know, it sort of leads to decisions that add to their problems. So just, one of the guys that we followed for the story talked about how he had been off drugs for years before he became homeless. And then after he became homeless, he started doing drugs again, basically because it's so miserable.
How long does it actually take to shut down an encampment and move people into apartments?
Yeah, so at this encampment in East Dallas that we followed, it took about 4 months. But it sort of changes over time. They're constantly tweaking the way that they do it, kind of learning lessons each time they close an encampment. So, after the East Dallas encampment closed, the city started working on 3 encampments downtown, and those closed faster than the one that we followed.
Let's pull back a little and talk about what it means for a person when they're able to move out of homelessness.
The one constant we heard from everyone was that showering was a big deal. But also, this is the first time they feel safe. They have a door that they can lock. The way that homelessness beats people down, puts them in a constant fight or flight mode, they're just trying to survive. And once they have their own place, they get a decent night's sleep, they have food to eat, then they can actually start thinking about building a future.
That was KERA's Justin Martin speaking with Christopher Connolly and Ifat Yousafpour. For more of this story, visit KERAnews.org. The Cowboys won against the Pittsburgh Steelers last night with a score of 22-17, thanks to a very last-minute touchdown from Dak Prescott and Jalen Tolbert. Head to the Fort Worth Botanic Garden now through the end of November to see the thousands of kokedama seedlings on display. If you're not familiar with the Japanese plant, it's a ball of moss wrapped in string. For more information and plenty of other things to do, visit kera.org/calendar. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. The show was produced and edited by Shardae White and Becca Moore. For more news in your inbox, visit kera.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter. That's written by our colleague Catherine Hobbs. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, maybe Threads, at KERATX. Make sure you're registered to vote, and we'll see you tomorrow.